Welcome to Talking Points. I'm Esme Murphy. We are going to talk about roofs, the kind that goes over your home. That kind of roof, if it was damaged by hail 15 years ago, you'd probably get a, quote, free replacement from your insurance company, paid for, of course, by your insurance premiums. But that's actually changed. If you have tried to file a claim for a roof recently, you likely have ended up with a discussion with your insurance agent about replacement value versus actual cash value. And if you have tried to buy a new home, you may be told the insurance company won't insure you unless you get a new roof. The change means thousands and thousands of dollars out of your pocket. The Minnesota Commerce Department regulates insurance companies in the state, including premium increases. And as we enter severe weather season, we're very pleased to have the Commissioner of Commerce, Grace Arnold, with us here. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is a really important topic.
Well, and I know you were just up in Beltrami County where they had a terrible storm, a derecho, high winds last July, and they're having problems. What is going on? Because things have changed.
Yeah, you know, we've seen a lot of really increased storms that have like much higher volume of claims. So that means that there's higher winds, more hail, those kinds of things. That's a result of climate change. Now what's happening is there are other things like labor pressures and like the cost of materials goes up.
Even the tariffs have contributed to that.
Even the tariffs. Yeah. All of that goes into your premium. So we've seen premiums go up, and then we've seen companies try different things to put more of the cost on consumers to lower the cost of the premium in the front, so that when you're doing a claim, you're taking on a little bit more at the end.
Okay, what we're hearing, and just talking to people, everybody seems to have a story. I'm not sure I've done a story recently where so many people have told me their stories, but one thing I've been told is that if people are buying a new home, you said you hadn't heard about this.
Yep.
A new home, they're told they can't get insurance unless they get a new roof.
Yeah, this is a new thing that we're hearing, so we'll definitely take a look at that. I think what we hear often is that the coverage on your roof is different from the rest of the coverage on your house. So you'll insure your house and you'll have a deductible of $5,000 or $3,000, but your roof will have a separate deductible. That'll be 10%, it'll be something like that. Sometimes it's a percent, sometimes it's a dollar value. Often people aren't aware that that's happened in their policy. So as you're shopping, I think asking a lot of questions about what your roof coverage specifically looks like. Now, whether or not people will insure older roofs or things like that, I think that's something new that we'll definitely look into, because if people aren't able to get insurance because they have an older roof, that's a big problem.
All right. But let me ask you, it used to be 15 years ago that if you had hail damage, you'd get, quote, a new roof.
Right.
That's not the case. It's cash value versus replacement value. And people are being told, well, your roof is 10 years old. We're only going to give you $800 for it.
Right. So that's what I was referencing earlier. We were seeing a lot of change, particularly to the roof part of insurance policies. So there will be, I can use my example, our roof was older. We had some hail damage, and so we got a percent of the total replacement cost because it was a depreciated value. And so that's the kind of thing where I understood our coverage going in and knew it wouldn't be, but some people are really surprised by that.
Well, that's the question I had. When people renew, is this changing? Is that something they should look for? Because some people are aware of the change when they renew, but it sounds like everybody who renews their insurance policy, home insurance policy these days, specifically for the roof, it's getting changed.
Very likely, yep. And so we don't approve policies before they go into the market, but we do look at them sometimes in the back end, but we definitely understand a little bit of the trends that are going on. If you're buying your coverage every year, you should ask about the kinds of coverage. Roofing in particular is one to ask about.
Does it change every year? I mean, I feel like I should know this.
I would say until recently, no. The market has been evolving quite a bit in the last little bit. It's hard for us to keep up as regulators because it's a fairly lightly regulated market. We can take action on the back end. We don't have a lot of tools on the front end. And then, policies are changing as companies are kind of figuring out what they think might work to keep their costs down. Often that means that costs are getting shifted to consumers, which is a real surprise sometimes, and is, puts people in bad situations sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. It's thousands and thousands of dollars out of pocket. Let me ask you, as commissioner of the Commerce Department, can you just tell an insurance company, no, you've got to give these people insurance, or you've got to give them the full replacement value?
No, our authorities are somewhat limited. So we're looking at, can a company pay their claims? So they need to collect enough in premium to pay the claims that they have. Most of our authority lies in this, in the homeowners market, is on the back end. So if a company is not adhering to the policy that they have written, then we can take enforcement action.
Can they change the policy without you knowing it? In other words, have it in the fine print?
No, they need to let you know. So those are the kinds of things.
In conversation?
Yeah, I think that's where it gets a little bit tricky, because we for a long time have advised people to look at their policies. Now we're seeing that it's hard to understand. Even if people read their policies, they don't always know. We can be a resource. So for anyone who's running into trouble, can't get the information you think you need, either at your purchase or when you're dealing with a claim, you can call the Department of Commerce. Hopefully we can put a number up and be able to contact us, not just with a complaint. I think a lot of people think, oh, I can only call if there's a problem. If you're having trouble getting information, or if you're not understanding the information that you've gotten, we can help you to navigate that.
Okay. I talked to another person here, one of our photographers, who said that his insurance company just said, you're in Minnesota. This is a couple of years ago, we're not insuring you anymore because of the hail damage. 2022 and 2023 were really bad years. $1 billion in 2022. In 2023, in August, there was a $1 billion storm, a single storm.
Correct. Yeah, there was like the $1 billion happy hour. I think it came at
Yes,
right 5 o'clock. And so, the prices or the pressures we're seeing on premiums are because we have storms and because we have claims. And so that is definitely real. I think we've seen a little bit of change in the market. Some carriers have dropped out. We haven't seen problems like California has had, where all of their carriers said they were going to leave. We still have a fairly robust market, a fairly competitive market. If you're having trouble, shopping around is always a good option, but we are seeing that consumers are increasingly getting caught in the middle of this. Okay,
and you said people have reached, can people just reach out to you?
Yep.
Can you call the Commerce Department and say, like, I'm confused, what's going on, and somebody will help you?
Yeah, so we have a consumer information line you can call in. We're not an agent and broker, so we can't sell you insurance, but if there are problems that you're having, either understanding or getting information from your carrier or your broker, then we can help.
All right. And should people realize that this is in the midst of a sea change here?
Yeah. I think the property market is going to continue to evolve. I think that's going to put consumers in tough positions. So we're thinking about how we can do our work better. We're thinking about ways insurance companies need to do their work better so that they can help folks understand. And really our goal is to make sure that consumers are protected in a market that we know is going to need to evolve, because there are pressures from climate change and there are pressures from other things like tariffs that are kind of external to the market, but people need homeowners insurance and they need to understand what it is, and that's where we can be helpful.
And that's the one thing we've talked to some of our scientists, meteorologists, who say these storms that we're getting are more severe and causing more damage. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Absolutely. When I was, you mentioned I was up in Beltrami County yesterday, I would never have thought that the plates on a truss that hold a truss together would come off and make this the foundation or the structure of a home unstable because of winds, but those are the kinds of things that we're seeing because these are just such intense storms.
And this storm happened in a very busy news cycle last summer in July, and you're telling me that people are still having trouble getting replacement roofs, other parts of their homes replaced.
Yeah, we heard a lot of stories that were really frustrating from my perspective, that and from the consumers, they just feel like they're on a hamster wheel trying to get coverage for basic things. And so that's something we're going to take back, but it's again an example of consumers that are getting caught in the middle of a market that is changing. And we need to do a better job at the department and in the state to make sure that we have consumers are protected. But I think also companies need to do a lot better job in servicing their members.
Okay. All right. Well, Commissioner Arnold, thank you so much. And we'll give people the information, that consumer line. And obviously, this is something that people need to be aware of.
Absolutely.
As we head into the bad weather season.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
And that does it for this edition of Talking Points. As always, please email me with comments and questions at esme@cbs.com. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Esme Murphy, WCCO News.